Hi, and welcome to another episode of Metal Mastermind. I'm your host, Ken Candelist, audio educator and composer of the cinematic philosophical metal project Homeric. And today I have a very special treat for you guys. This is something remarkable. This is the Chord Electronics Hugo 2. Now, what is it? Well, basically, it's a DAC. What's a DAC? That's a digital to analog converter. And this guy only does one thing: converts audio. And it costs probably 3 times what you normally would spend on a pretty sophisticated interface. Hopefully that gives you a hint. Why do I have this in my possession? Well, I recently took a trip over to Mexico, and I got a chance to meet other audio educators from around the world.
It opens up the idea of different types of timbre.
Explore pedagogy about how to treat audio education and considering the global forum. It was a fantastic experience, and I got to also see Teotihuacan, which is a place for the Mesoamerican Great Pyramids. It's amazing. I met the guys from Chord while I was trying to visit my friends at Audiophile. And I said, what is this little thing? This is something interesting. It looks kind of spacey, and actually, if I turn it on, you'll notice that it does kind of have a little bit of a space glow look. So this thing is so cool. And like I said, it is just a DAC, which means that it converts digital information to analog information. But the way that this does that type of conversion is probably one of the best experiences I've heard on headphones. I'm not lying when I say that, because I have been around many sophisticated audio equipment in my days as a professional and also as an educator. And I'm exposed to a lot of products all the time. I actually participate in an entire advisory group to manufacturers. So needless to say is that I get a chance to explore a lot of gear. And when I'm telling you that listening to something like this versus my Antelope audio interfaces, which are fantastic. I mean, I'm getting literally 130 dB of conversion from those. But the Hugo, the way that it converts, does something different than anything else. It's because there is no DAC chip. So a chip that would do the DAC conversion, that's kind of weird, because you would think, you're like, wait, integrated circuits are kind of a part of all of computer electronic technology, and you'd be right. But there's also another type of way to do a similar job. And we see it in a lot of military applications, and it's called an FPGA. And so an FPGA is basically similar to an integrated chip, but it basically is programmed to do one thing. And Rob Watts, who is the designer of the FPGA, is responsible for making this thing do its magic. And one benefit from doing it through this kind of technology is something that they've called noise floor modulation. So now if you really think about it, noise floor modulation happens because we're taking pulses of voltage steps that represent the signal's dynamic range, right? So every single one of these pulses also has a bit of noise attached to it, right? And that can vary based on how much, right? More power, more voltage, perhaps more noise along the waveform, rather than noise like, I don't know, ground noise, right? A different type of noise. We're talking about noise that rides the wave. Another way that you could think about this is a window that you have not noticed was foggier than it should be. And once you've heard with the Windex on, you can see how clear it can be. And Tom Vaughn, who's my friend here at Chord Electronics, who talked about this with me, fascinating concept here, said also that because it was so much more efficient and it was faster at delivering that information, that those nanoseconds help to create the spatiality that we hear in the conversion. Wow. So this little guy, wonderful unit, especially if you are trying to do some sort of mixing, mastering work, right? Audio production. We do a lot of audio production education in Metal Mastermind, and you can find courses on that if you're interested, as well as for music. So needless to say, what I did with my Chord Hugo 2 was actually I brought it to other places, because I was like, I could sit around here and be in my studio and talk it all up as much as I want, but I actually want to see what others say. And so how did I do this? I used audio movers to take the source of the audio playback and deliver it to the two devices that I wanted to compare against. Now, at the school, we had Universal Audio Apollos. And I was like, okay, great. Because those are very popular interfaces. I was like, let's check it out. I want to hear a comparison and see, is there a big difference? And so that's what I did. I had all my students, one by one, every single one of them, I'm telling you, because they all got excited. They were like, we're going to do this. Okay, great. One by one, they all lined up, put on headphones, put on a track from Tidal, made sure it was lossless and all that stuff. Took that information, compared it, just unplugged the headphone port to the other one, right? Hot swapping, making sure levels were matched, right? Wow, yes, I can hear a difference. Most of the consensus was that it was a little bit more open, less fatiguing. That noise wasn't as harsh, right? So that makes it feel more like a relaxed sound. Although I wouldn't say that it's relaxed as in muted, it's just effortless. So this kind of experience was also verified in a pub. And I kid you not, because me and my colleagues, we sit down, we're enjoying ourselves with drink and whatnot, but we said, hey, you know what? Can I listen to that thing again? I was like, yeah, sure. You mean the Chord Hugo 2? Sure, yeah, let's bring that out. And oh my God, we had just such a blast. I mean, it was just so much fun. You guys, this was just a unique way to experience a different kind of audio product. I'm so glad to see that there's been a bit of an effort to bridge the audiophile world, because I know that the audiophile world can kind of get in its own bubble a lot, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would probably agree with that. And I want to make sure that also there's a bridge between that and consumers. And when you're a consumer looking for products that are in your best interest, you might now have an opportunity to explore that. And I'm here for it, right? So check it out, the Chord Electronics Hugo 2. I also have a podcast episode with Tom Vaughn on the Metal Mastermind podcast. So go ahead and check that out if you want to learn directly from the source more about why this product is so special. So thanks a big bunch to Chord Electronics. Tom Vaughn, you're the man. Okay, guys, that's all for today. And don't forget, none of this stuff matters if you're not trying to create your own sound.